empowerment of Lord Chaitanya through our hearts, the best ways to approach each person so they feel us, that we're kind friends, that we really care about them, we care about the world, and we would like to, as much as possible, be a benefit to the world. So this is one of the historic temples of the world. This center is strategically placed in London, the most important city, or at least one of the most important cities out of a few in the world that really are counted on the map. Everyone wants to know. It's on their shopping bag. Was it in London, New York, maybe San Francisco? Could we make the cut? And if so, I'll take it. So it's important what we do here. It's important how we show up. We should be very kind to everybody. We should be respectful. Never be condescending. Always feel humble that we're able to have this service as representatives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Respectful to all living beings, and to help to bring peace to the world. This is the only panacea. There's no other solution to the world's ills except for raising the consciousness. Problem is the three modes of material nature and all the complexities that come from being mixed up in them. The solution is to come in contact with transcendental sound vibration, and we have it to offer people. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Now, if you would, if we have a few minutes before we go out, so if you have any questions or you'd like to direct the conversation in any way, I will try to oblige. Prabhu.
Hi, I had a question, and it's just with some context.
Do you have a free mic? Okay, thank you.
Hi. Oh, nice. So I have a question with some context. In the UK, the average reading age is dipped from about 20 to about 12. So most people can't sit down and read a full book. Like, it'd be very difficult for them to do something like this. At the same time, what we've seen is an uprise in short 6-second or 8-second media things that they're learning a lot of the information from. So things like Instagram Reels and TikTok and stuff like this. Have you, and I know it's not the best tools, but have you considered doing something like this to raise awareness of the books?
Yes, there's lots of TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. There's tens of thousands right now sitting there online that you can direct people to. Just on my, little orbit, social media orbit, I have thousands of such things, little videos, 1 minute, 2 minute, on TikTok. So it's there, it's being used and considered. And any of the tech-savvy devotees, pick anybody under 50 and they'll tell you exactly where to find it. Thank you. It's very insightful. This is following the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who thought to use everything, whatever technology is available to help spread the Sankirtan movement. It's called Yukta Vairagya. So you have a transcendental thought process. Very good. You're in the Sankirtan movement. How do you go? Okay, let's see who can ask the best question. And I'll give 100 quid for anybody who asks a bad question. But let me see if I have it. Okay, yes.
It's not the best question, but Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So my question is like...
Is that on?
Need tech support.
At the bottom, there's an orange button.
There it goes. It's on now.
So how to encourage other devotees to go out and book distribution?
Well, one thing is to make it fun. The reason that people don't go out generally, I find, is because they have an image in their mind of book distribution as being cold, windy, harsh, people slamming into you with their objections, and also, most importantly, they feel that they'll be the person who flubs it, and they're going to present, and then they'll be refused, and everyone will notice that, oh, you're no good. You don't even belong in the Sankirtan movement. That's what's going through their head. That's why I mentioned we're not going out to sell books. We're going out just because it's the right thing to do, to feel what it's like to sally forth walk outside the door, go past the threshold, usually at the last minute. Although we talk about book distribution and how to perform the act and to actually be there at the last minute, several people will say, I would come out, but my mom called and she needs a scone and jam and butter sandwich, and I have to stay back. A little peanut butter she needs. I have to go to the store. I'll be right back. But these are the petty weaknesses of heart that we're able to overcome when we just go with the group and just say, we're not going out, don't worry about performing. You don't have to do anything to prove yourself, to sell a book. Don't worry about that. It happens quite naturally and spontaneously by being the energy, and until it does, don't have to push yourself. You don't have to do anything heroic except for pass the threshold of the door of your apartment, house, or the temple and walk out with everybody else. Just hold on to the person next to you. Say, I'm afraid like anything. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'll never do anything either, but I'm holding on to you. Yeah. And don't worry, because this is not about us doing anything. We're just instruments, and Lord Chaitanya wants to use us. So be neutral and go out the door. So when we frame it like this, we find more and more people come out. We don't emphasize the individual heroics or the personal scores. It's all about us as a group going out together. And then make it fun. Fun means pizza. If you have pizza available for people when they come back, or any other kind of prasada, then they'll override all their fears. Let's get one slice of hot pizza. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Vaisesika. Thank you for coming and gracing us with your presence here in Soho.
It's a true honor to be here.
Hare Krishna. Just one question about how we can stay connected with Krishna whilst on book distribution. Obviously, it's a transcendental activity already, but within our own minds, when it's such a busy place like Fundraiser and water cycles, these places, how do we keep our minds on Krishna whilst book distributing?
Book distribution means chanting Hare Krishna. Always keep the transcendental vibration going. When you walk outside the door, even when you're inside, keep the transcendental vibration going, always. So when you go outside, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. It immediately brings you to the platform of being the instrument rather than the doer. When you get on the mental platform thinking, how am I going to do this? That's when you get an anxiety. You start thinking like, oh, can I do it? What am I going to say next? Just chant Hare Krishna. And if you just keep chanting Hare Krishna, and all those who are standing watching, you can keep the vibration going. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. When we go door to door, we'll go up to the door. We don't know what's going to happen. How are we going to know what's behind the door? We have no idea. That's why Sankirtan's fun. We want the unpredictable. We want to go out into the great unknown and depend on Krishna. So you knock on the door, and then you stand there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Door opens up, and you just depend on Krishna. Whatever sincerity you have in the power of your chanting, that I'm going to be an instrument, I'll deliver it sincerely the best I can. Prabhu told us in 1975 in Vrindavan. He said, if you just sincerely try, then he pointed to his heart with a big sweep of his hand. He said, then the master within your heart will give you the intelligence how to do it. So just be an instrument. I'll show you another trick how to do it. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm not going to say
Yes.
Yes. Take your hand, put it behind your head. You didn't know this before, but there's a switch back there. And you can flip the switch, and instead of being a human full of frailties and worried about how you look and did I wear the right thing, you flip the switch and you become a transcendental robot. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, flip. Now we don't care anymore. We just go out and do our duty. And it doesn't matter who says what to whom. We're doing our duty in the best possible way from our heart as possible. And we're an instrument. Be an instrument. Chant Hare Krishna. Lightning round now. We're in the lightning round, so you got to raise your hand fast if you have a thought or a question. And everyone move up, please, by 7.4, what is that measurement? Millimeters?
Inches.
Is that an inch?
Yes.
Inches? What is that, a Brexit thing? You went back to Okay. Yes.
Hey, Mr. Morris, thank you so much there. I'm really excited. How can we stop ourselves from tips from getting in the way?
From which getting in the way?
From ourselves getting in the way of that book and the other person's connection with Krishna?
Same thing, just be an instrument. One thing that's helpful is to have a template to start with. I usually teach a short template of how to present a book. It's one of millions of templates because everyone develops his or her own way of presenting, but I find it's helpful to have a few preliminary points that you want to make, and you just try to make the points. And just do the presentation, and then stand back and see what happens. And then you'll be okay. So, detachment is important. Be detached from the result. Whether a person takes, doesn't take, we're not out there to sell books. We're out there for our own purification. If you go out for your own purification, you'll never be disappointed. Because just walking out the door and the challenge of how am I going to do this, and we just want to rise above the mind. Mam chayo vyabhicharina bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati chaita brahma bhuyaya kopade. That's why we're doing it. It's the right thing to do. And when we come into the mood of like I'm the doer, I have to do everything right, then we can get in the way. A few points that I make when I talk to people. First I try to make I make a conscious connection with people. So that's possible because people are living beings. And living beings are amazing. They look back at you. That pillar is not looking back at me. But if I look at Jirotata Prabhu, amazingly, he's looking back at me. There's this rapport that we develop, but it's like right now, he's slightly smiling because it's a kind of imposing. I'm bringing up his name, but looking at him, he's looking at me. There's this energy. That's consciousness. That's the amazing thing. So that's the first thing to go out and experience. So be conscious, notice consciousness, and make conscious connections with people. That's the first process. Second one is to be choosy. We're not going out to convince people. We're going out only to select people. Are we going out to convince people? No, Vaisesika. Are we going out to select people?
Yes.
Everyone say yes.
Yes.
When you go picking fruits on a tree, you find the least ripe fruits. You become angry at them for not being ripe yet. You grab them, and if they won't come off the vine, then you break the branch off. I'm correct, right? So far, I'm doing it right. And then I drag the branch all the way home. The fruit's on it, so they're unripe. That's what I do, right?
No.
Is that correct?
No.
No, Vaisesika, that's wrong, bad. Fruit pickers go out and they become expert. Like, I don't mean to brag, but I'm an expert on avocados. My favorite food. And I can tell a ripe avocado from across the room. Just the way it came in, the way they held it, the way it looks in the bowl. I didn't even have to touch it. I know whether it's ripe or unripe. So after some time, we become more and more expert at judging consciousness of people. Parents do it with their kids. They know all the time what kind of mood the kid's in. They hear a little, and then it's like, yeah, I know what that means. They know. We're very sensitive. That's an amazing thing about us as conscious beings. We can be aware of other people's consciousness. So that's what we do. And then what we're looking for, and make it practical and technical, look at a meter that goes from 1 to 10. 5 and under, leave it on the vine. 5.1 is a chance. You get up to 5.3, 4, 6, 7, the percentages go way up that you're going to be successful no matter what you tell them when you hand over the book. They're already ready. They're ripe on the vine. You just have to be there to pick them. So when I look at somebody, I'm making a conscious contact, so they know we're there. Every living entity is kind of aware of his or her own environment. They're walking down the street. They're taking in millions of images at a time. They're able to process it all with the help of Super Soul. So when there's a devotee standing there, they know. So all you have to do to test, to see if they're 5 and under or 5 and over, you just go, hi. See? That's like a 6.3. Such a nice smile and a return, that's a huge thing. And you can notice any other indication, you get a conscious exchange. Next thing is I ask a question, never a question that is answered with a yes or a no. Because the default for people who are thinking, I don't know what's going to happen, therefore I'll say no. The confused mind always says no. So ask a question that requires a definitive answer, like I say, I'm from California, where are you from?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, Shinsatsui, Samsui Po, Mongkok, new territories are way up in the peak. Lehoma. And then that's when I tell them that they're qualified to take a look at the book, because first of all, I appreciate where they're from, because Yasyatma Buddhi Kunapetu Datu Swadi Kala Tradishu Bhoma Ijadi. Bhoma Ija means everyone's meditating on worshiping their homeland. Where are you from?
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. I love Bangladesh. In fact, I just talked to somebody this morning from Bangladesh right after the class, and I'd like to go to Bangladesh as soon as possible. How do you feel about that? Haribol! So, first thing is look and see what their level is on the scale of 1 to 10. 5 or over, 5.1, 2, 3. You've got an opportunity, and then tell them where you're from, ask where they're from. This is one way. You can also watch Giri Rajkripa. We flew him in from Hungary. We're bringing in the heavy hitters over here. He's in the orange jacket, so you can watch his body language on the street and see how a pro does it. Sorry, now I'm intimidating him. He won't be intimidated. So, and then when they say where they're from, then I say, great, I'll show you this. And then I hand the book over and I tell them a little bit about the book on the way to handing it to them. Books on yoga, meditation, shows you how to get free from stress. You've heard of stress before, right? Yes?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Because you don't look stressed. You look very peaceful and happy. And then I ask the question, what's your secret? Everyone turn to somebody next to you and say, what's your secret? What's your secret? So here's a secret for you. Secret for you is whoever's asking the questions is leading the conversation. Now there's a short quiz I have for you. In a conversation, who leads the conversation?
The person asking the questions.
The one who's asking questions, right? Yeah. Correct. Very good. I think about 10% of you answered. So everyone else, I'll try it again. In a conversation, who's leading the conversation? Good. So you want to make sure to be asking, become a master asker instead of a master teller. You tell people and they're going, yada yada, blah blah blah, listen to speak to the hand, the mind's not listening. But if you ask questions, it pulls them out and then you get the answers that lead them to the right conclusion. So first question I ask people, I'm from California, announce where you're from. Where are you from? I'm from Bangladesh, where are you from? And then wherever they tell from, appreciate their place and show them the book. You can tell them a few lines about the book. And then ask them, you've heard of stress before? They say, yes, I've heard of stress. Or if they say no, that's okay too, because then you say the same thing, which is, yeah, you don't look stressed at all. What's your secret? And that question is important because when I ask them what their secret is, my countenance and my approach is that I'm non-condescending. I'm learning from them. I'm not trying to teach them, because on the street, one of the reasons that people don't like it is because they're an independent living being. They have their own orbit in life, whatever mode it's in, and they don't want to be told what to do. They don't want somebody interjecting into their life and telling them they're doing it wrong and they could be doing it better. Kids don't like it, right? When you tell your kid, the room's not clean enough, and they go like, what? This is the way I live. This is how I roll. So I asked, what's your secret? How did you get like this to be so spiritual? So then when they tell me, then I show them the book, because it's something they already know about. I show them a few points about the book. For instance, I tell them about the famous people who've read it before, like Tupac Shakur and the Beatles and Mahatma Gandhi and so forth. I show them some of the universities in the front really quickly, and then I show them the Sanskrit language, and then I show them a few pictures. And in your book, do you have the yogi meditating, going flying out of his head? Yes. I ask what kind of work they do, and whenever they tell me, what kind of work do you do?
About an doctor surgery, administrator.
Which kind of surgery?
Doctor surgery.
Doctor's surgery, administration. I'll show them the picture of the yogi. I'll say, this guy used to be in surgery. And then half of them laugh, and the other half go, really? And then I say, no, not really, I'm just kidding. And then they go, ha, ha, ha. And then, that's when I hand the book back to them, and this is how I ask for a donation. I say, we don't sell these like in a bookstore. We only ask for a donation. We don't need the money. The only reason we ask is because when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it's an ancient principle called Dakshina, and it connects you to the previous teachers who have passed it down over many generations, and allows you to enter deeply within the knowledge. And then they say, I don't have any money. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes.
First of all, it's not true. Everybody has money. And so then I say, great, we don't take cash. We take credit cards, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Carte Blanche, or Diners Club. And if they come down and say, like, I don't have anything, and say, just give a penny. And sometimes also it helps me to tell them approximately how much we're expecting, because one of the reasons people say they don't have money is because they don't know how much I'm expecting them to give. And so I say, people give this much for the printing, how much ever you want to say. 5 pounds, 10 pounds, or something like that. It gives them something in their mind. After they give a donation and take a book, is there possibly getting more air in here? We're at risk of losing altitude at any time now. Then I say, do you believe in the power of prayer? Does everybody here believe in the power of prayer?
Yes.
Yes.
What if you say no?
That's okay.
Okay, do you believe in the power of prayer?
No. Yeah.
I know it's hard for you to say no. Okay, say no. Then I say, great, I'll give you a mantra. So for the agnostic, atheistic type of people who say, who reject the prayer, say, perfect, I'll give you a mantra. And then I ask them, say, this is a beautiful mantra or a prayer that makes wake up love for God in your heart. And I'll say it and you repeat, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Then after that, always give them prasadam. Because our secret weapon is prasadam. If you carry it with you wherever you go, give it to your bank teller. They go, oh, thank you very much. You come back next week, make another deposit. You give them a prasadam, and they go, oh yeah, I remember you from last week. And then third week, you come back, make another huge deposit. And they say, who are you? And you say, I'm glad you asked. Here, I'll show you. This is what the book I've been reading. It teaches to be a kind friend to all living beings and teaches about the process of yoga. You give out prasadam everywhere you go to people, and then thank them for taking their valuable times. Turn to the person next to you and say, thank you for taking your valuable time.
Thank you for taking your wonderful time.
It's been an honor to meet you. If there were more people like you in the world, it would be a better place to live. Now you feel happy, they feel happy, and the world's a better place. You just did something. Everybody's wondering what to do about global warming, what to do about the war, what to do about hunger in the world, you know what to do. And this is why you feel so satisfied when you're able to contact people and approach them with transcendental literature. Any questions? How much time do we have left? A few minutes, okay. Let's see if there's any questions. What if, Vaisesika Das, the person says, blah, blah, blah. What if, for, are you sure you're going to say that? Yes.
What if he says, because if you say to him, oh, you look very peaceful, then
Mike.
because he's peaceful.
What if you, yeah, so that's why it works both ways. So let's say I say, you don't look stressed at all, you look very peaceful. In fact, I say, you look spiritual. So turn to this person next to you and say, you look spiritual. You know what happens when you tell somebody you look spiritual? Well, let me tell you what happens when, let's say you come into Mangal Artik and you're just walking out and somebody walks up to you and you say, you look terrible. How do you feel the rest of the morning? You look in the mirror and go like, what happened? You look terrible. You look really bad. So, in the same way, when you say you look spiritual, this causes instant self-realization. Because little Jiva is wandering around the universe thinking, like, what happened to me anyway? I used to be somebody in the spiritual world, and now I'm just wandering around the material world looking for scraps. And if you come up to them and approach them on the street and say, hey, you look spiritual, then suddenly they remember everything. They go, yeah, I am spiritual. I'm a spirit soul. So you tell them they look spiritual. So if people argue with you, you say, you look very, are you stressed? You've heard of stress before, and they said, I've never heard of stress, I feel peaceful. They say, yeah, what's your secret? How'd you get like that? If they say, no, I'm not very peaceful, and is that what your question was?
Yeah.
If you say, I'm not very peaceful, I feel stressed, I say, yeah, but you look spiritual. What's your secret? The questions are so powerful, and the context is so powerful that it arrests, W-R-E-S-T, rests, W-R-E-S-T-S, rests them out of this consciousness of being combative or whatever else. They become aware that this is something good for me. This is something spiritual. Did that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Did this mean that we're running out of time? This is like 5 minutes.
Just left it there so that.
Okay. These are bands that are surcharged with spiritual energy. I wear one because it's the only way I'm able to stay focused. There's some energy that pours through this band. It goes up my arm, through into my heart, and then it goes out to all the different energy channels of my body. So when I'm able to do one of these on the street, then by the mercy of these bands, they've been offered to go any time. The person just like all of a sudden gets a charge, spiritual energy. And they're like, what happened? Do you have a set of Bhagavatams? Have you heard of Bhagavatam? No, but I guess it came into my mind. I thought I'd maybe take one. So I do recommend these, but there's only a few left, so we can only give them to the first few people.
Sorry, can I ask you?
Yes, you can ask it. As many questions as you wish.
If they say I am Catholic.
Yes. Then give them the Catholic book. When we were just in tours the other day, the guy immediately, there was this fellow, who was with us? He was a Buddhist. Was anybody with our group for the Buddhist guy? Sachi, you were there for the Buddhist? What did we tell him? See, if you give somebody something and their mind rejects it, don't push it on them. Take it back. So let's say they get the thing and they say, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Catholic, etc. You honor that. Always honor objections. What should you do with objections?
Honor it.
Honor the objection. Like, offer your obeisances to it. Get down on the ground. They give an objection, you say, that's the best objection I've ever heard in my life. I'm going to offer my obeisance right here on the pavement. That's how you, and then the objection flies off over your head. And the thing is with the Buddhist guy, he goes, oh, I'm a Buddhist. And he goes, oh, Buddhist, beautiful. Here, let me take that one back. Because he's already handing it back anyway. Once the hand starts coming 1 inch back to you, you can't force it back again. That ratchets up his determination to reject you. You go with his objection, you say, absolutely, you're absolutely right, I'm taking this book back, I should have given you the Buddha book. And you take the Buddha book. Which is the Buddha book, Sachi? You just echo what your dad said. Which is the Buddha book? The Buddha book's any of the next book that's not the book you just gave. Because Krishna consciousness is universal and you can explain it in any terms. We met 3 Muslims and they say, yeah, this, that, the other thing. And they said, Salam alaikum, alaikum salam, alhamdulillah, Allah Akbar. This book teaches that everyone's forgotten Allah. Allah is within everyone's heart. The goal of life is to understand Allah, to have love for Allah, to battle before Allah. People are looking at everything. They look at the clothes shops, the nail salon, the haircut, everything, but they forget Allah. So this book is meant for universal peace. So take it. So honor their objection, honor their upadi. Honor upadis. Today is Honor Upadi Day. Whatever upadi they have, honor it. Whatever objection they have, honor it and keep presenting. And one of the other points is this is a little known process that works about 7 times out of 10. When people hand back the book, you take it immediately and give them the next book. Who were we with? One of the first guys we met when we got out of the car in tours, it was a family. Remember, we were on the corner? So I handed the book. They looked like a very unlikely group. So I handed one book, and the guy, without even hearing anything, started handing it back. So I took it and I handed him the next book. We went through 4 different titles until it. And that's the other point, is to trust the hand. Because the hand has a dharma. The hand is to grab things. The mind may say, no, don't do it, because it's going to cost you. Besides that, you might become a Hare Krishna. The mind's thinking like that. But you put it out in the hand anyway, and the hand's going, no, I'll take it. You just talk to the hand. Don't worry about what the mind's saying. And when the hand, as a servant of the mind, says, I reject this, you take it back and you put it in the next one. You can't put the same one. It's got to be different. And it's amazing, because you can go 2, 3, 4, and then they'll take it. But be very gentle with people. Be detached. Wait for the right people to come along. It's like baseball, cricket maybe. You wait for the right pitch to hit, and then you slam it, or at least get a base hit. I got more sports metaphors too. Yes?
Maharaj, I've been in Italy distributing books, and they're mostly
She's been in Italy distributing
Catholic,
books.
mainly Catholic religion. So what at work I found, they don't want to hear about another religion, but if we tell them about Food for Life, they immediately want to donate because they get...
Food for Life, okay. Maybe you're right. It just, if you get off the vein of the subject, then you can get into like a lot of different things telling them. But I know in Italy, one of the things Trados Prabhu also talks about is, he says, this is how to overcome anger. Because he says in Italy, a lot of people feel they have an anger problem. And he said it's one of the most universal lines. I'm just a little wary about the Food for Life line, because then you go into like, we're helping this, we're helping that. Best if it's like, comes down to, it's about even the donation. When they give a donation, it's not for us, it's for them. In fact, I tell them straight out, we don't need the money, it's for you. When you give the donation, you get the benefit. And while I'm at it, if you meet Indians, don't hand them a book. At least that's my process. And here's why. Because they have this underlying embarrassment that they're not doing enough. Their mother and father raised them to be good Hindus, to bow down, be at the temple, read the Bhagavad Gita, and they haven't had time to do it, frankly. They forgot about it. And so if you hand them a Bhagavad Gita, all these samskars come up in their mind, and they feel like, horrible, and they'll take it out on you. And they'll say, I already know all this. You know, why wouldn't I know this? Like a petulant child. It's like, what are you talking about? I know everything. So the thing is, don't rile them up. So respect the fact that they feel embarrassed about it. So I never hand them anything, not a flyer, not a book, not anything. And I stand there and make friends with them, and I tell them something that they'll appreciate. First of all, I say, you already know all this, because that's what they were about to tell me. And then I say, your grandmother memorized this. Your mother read it every day, and you know this. And you know more than me. And in fact, in one conversation with any Indian person, I use 3 times in my presentation, you know better than I do, etc., etc., etc. So what I tell them is, what we're doing is something you already know perfectly, and that is the only way to make the world a better place is from a conscious level. And the best information in the world comes from the Bhagavad Gita because it's universal, it's non-sectarian, and we're printing these in Japanese, Chinese, Russian, you can name like 4 or 5 languages, and we're starting schools all over the world to make the world a better place. And today, here it comes, wait for it, Kumbh Mela starting. It's a, 2 words, fundraiser. Everyone say fundraiser.
Fundraiser.
Now that is something they can appreciate. Because they got a huge stack of money and they're thinking, how am I going to get rid of this? It's bugging me, like anything that's stacked up in my house, in my bank, and where am I going to put all this? And you say it's a fundraiser, and today people are giving money. And then they go, how much? And they start, before you can finish, they start reaching for their wallets. No book involved, no transaction. They hand over as much as they like, and you can tell them there's no minimum, but more importantly, there's no maximum. And then they give a donation, and then you hand them the books, and they're so happy. If you want the easy path, that's how to approach Indians on the street. Make sure nothing touches their hand before you say the word fundraiser. Because once it touches their hand, it's all over. But if you stand back and you tell them, you already know all this, this is something you would have thought of, you already did think of, we're just following in your footsteps. We're like your disciples practically. And now here's what we're doing on your behalf. Because you actually, your family probably thought of this first. And then they'll be happy to give a donation. Okay, just a couple more left. Yes?
So, for example, on...
Okay, here comes the mic.
On Thursday.
Tech support.
The mute light.
There's a mute button there. Press that one over there. Thumbs up.
Hare Krishna. So when we were at Tours Airport, as we were checking in, myself and Vindarika and her family were the last to leave, so we struck up a conversation with the lady, and she said, I feel embarrassed to ask you this, but why are you Indians all together and why have you come here? So I explained that we'd come on a spiritual retreat and where it was a castle. And I said to her, are you spiritual? Because you look really spiritual, what's your secret? And she was like, no, I'm not spiritual at all. And then I said, would you like to be spiritual? And she just said, no. And then I said, would you like some blessed food? And she said, no, I wouldn't. But then Vindarika had some packets of nuts and we gave it to her and she actually accepted it. But when somebody says, I'm not spiritual and I don't want to be spiritual, what do we say next?
Well, the first problem is asking them a yes or no question. Because their default is to say no. And if you say, would you like one of these? They go, no, I don't want one of these. If you're going to ask somebody a yes or no question, the way to ask is, do you mind giving a donation? Now say no.
No.
Everyone say no.
No.
See, when you say no, you said yes. So that's one way if you're going to say a yes or no. You say, do you mind giving a donation? And their impulse is to go, no. And you go, okay, thank you. Go right ahead. And they go, oh, what did I do? Words are powerful, and it's important what you say and what order you say it in. And so I don't ask people, are you spiritual, yes or no? I say, you look spiritual, what's your secret? That's not a yes or no question. I just assert myself through questions. I say, you look spiritual. Yeah, I don't feel spiritual. I know, but you look spiritual. How do you do that? And as soon as you flip this, if you flip off the track and you start getting into yes or no questions, they're going to go no, 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 no. Because that's what they're trained to do from the very time they hit the material world. Everything no. And so we have to guide them through our questions back into the flow of the spiritual world.
So what would we say after that?
After what?
So we would say, what's your secret? You know, you look spiritual. And they tell us their secret, and then what would we say next?
Then I say, well, then, in the context of showing the book, then I say, here, I'll show you this really quick. And the context is they're really spiritual, therefore I'm going to show it to them. One thing leads to another. So the fact that they're from a certain place, that leads to me showing them the book in the first place and telling them a little bit about it. Then I take the book back and I'm actually showing some of the pictures. And then I'll say, we don't sell like in stores, hand the book back, say it's just a donation. And the part about the you look spiritual, that's the precursor to me showing them the book.
Thank you.
Okay. Just edit your words as you go, and always use it at a practice session to increase. The other point is, core and explore means 80% do what you already know how to do, and you know what's worked for you before. 20% of a day, or a week, or a month, or a year, do things that are new, that you've never tried before. You might think, oh, I don't know how to do that. I've heard it works, but you don't try it because you just stick to what you wanted to, what you're used to doing 100%. Don't stay on that plateau. Take 20% of your effort and use new technologies, try new things 20% of the time. Approach new people that you haven't done. Try it a different way, because you'll find new things when you do that. Okay, 2 more and then we're out. Yes?
Could you maybe share some conversation you had with unripe fruits, when should we stop going on trying to give them a book?
A lot of it is going by feeling. Do you cook?
Sometimes.
I mean, cooking's an art, right? And cooks, they like throw in, not all cooks measure things, unless it's for huge quantity. Is this, any cooks in here? Do you measure everything, or do you just know by, yeah, you just kind of throw it in. And also, you kind of know when it's done. You can look and feel when it's done. So you have to feel people. Conversations I've had with people who are unripe fruits, they're pretty unlimited. I mean, it goes down to most of the people I say on this scale of 5 and under. The worst one I ever had was, and the worst thing that ever happens, which teaches a deep lesson in the heart, is people that totally ignore me. I mean, not even saying no. No is a kindness, because the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And so if people walk past you like you didn't exist, that's when I get this existential realization that this is what I've been doing to Krishna since time immemorial, and I start feeling, I wish I was a devotee, and I'm like that guy who just ignored me. That's medicine for us. That's why we go out, actually. It's not to sell books. We're going out for our own purification. And lots of people say no for all kinds of different reasons. I always honor them. That leaves the situation in a sweet way. It's not that I feel indignant that they didn't take a book. It's not I feel resentful and, you idiot. Leave everyone with this mood of like, it was an honor to meet you. Thanks for taking valuable time. Whatever it is, be kind and appreciative of people. If they really don't want to stay back, give them wide space so that they don't feel any kind of sense that they were pushed or cajoled. And it's a fine tuning. You have to keep tuning, like any hot water level. You're trying to get it at the right level, not too cold, not too hot, right? Or is it just me? You just go cold, hold, fall on. No, you try it, like it's the right spot, so you got to keep practicing to feel it. And when you do that all the time, you do it on a regular basis, then you start tuning yourself. we get tuned by going out in public. We become more sensitive to everyone and everything by Sankirtan. It's a divine service. It's a sadhana. So we're not going to sell books, we're going to refine ourselves. And that is how we can resonate with other souls and do the right thing. You just keep practicing like cooks, and then after a while, you just know, I'm putting in the salt, I know how much it is. I've done it 50 million times, I know that's the right amount. You know what I mean? Last question. Yes, Prabhu. Here comes the mic all the way to the back door.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, why should children do book distribution, and why should parents do book distribution with them?
About, 17 years ago, I thought the same thing. And because I come from a community where there are lots of kids, now I think we have over 300 kids in our community. Back then, maybe there were 50, 40, 30. And I was thinking, why wouldn't kids go on Sankirtan? So I did an experiment. I got 5-5-year-olds. And we talked it over with their parents. We brought a few chaperones, and I brought 5-5-year-olds. I have photographic evidence of this. 5-5-year-olds, I took them out door to door on Sankirtan. And they had such a profound experience going out. And so did I. So first door we went to, there was a person who was physically or mentally impaired inside who had a caretaker. And this is what I figured out after the whole transaction took place. One of the first doors we went to with these 5 kids who were bright-eyed. And kids like in America, they like to go on Halloween trick-or-treating because you get to go to other people's house. There's something like really amazing about that, because at least in the suburbs, no one goes to anybody's house in America. I don't know about UK. India, people just walk in. But in Western countries, like, you don't even step on their lawn. Beware of dog. So, just going to the door is exciting. Then we saw the doorknob. Somebody was trying to open it, and it was weird because it wouldn't open. Finally, the door opens a little bit, and we saw this scene that the person inside saw us. We were showing the book through the door crack, and the person wanted it, but the caretaker didn't want him to have it. So it was a struggle back and forth. So it's because the person grabbed the book, and then the other person was trying to push it back out. And the kids saw all this. So it was back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Finally, the patient inside prevailed and pulled the book in, and the door closed, and the kids went, yeah! They got it. They saw what just happened. They could feel the struggle between good and evil, and they felt it. Then we went to the next door. Outside, spring day, this lady was on her porch in a white picket fence, which is the epitome of an American nice house. And so the white picket fence, I was on the outside of the gate. The kids don't know what gates mean. They just rushed through, and the lady was looking at me in the dhoti, and she goes, oh no, she said, I'm a Christian. And the kids rushed her because they don't know what Christians are, and they don't know what gates are either. So they got in, they surrounded her, and I'd given them a little primer about how to sell a book. And they were all showing her at the same time. 5 of them, 5-5-year-olds at once. This is Krishna, here's a cow, this is spiritual world, this is the Sanskrit. They're all telling all at the same time. I'm still back on the street. She looks over all the kids. She goes, all right, how much is it? And I thought, this is gonna work. So when we got back after a day of having fun like that, we asked the kids, who wants to go again? Both hands went up on everybody. That's what started. And then Kameshri, one of our great heroines of Sankirtan, volunteered to head up the party. And she started taking kids out. And she recalls how they went to an apartment complex, and the first time they got flat out rejected. That the door opened, looked at the person, scolded, why are you here? And slammed the door. So the kids felt rejected. They felt dejected. She took them out because she's such an intelligent devotee. They sat in the playground, which is part of the apartment complex. They sat in a circle and they talked about what just happened. And they processed it. Do you know that a lot of people get a PhD and they don't know how to get rejected? They're smartest people on the planet get a PhD in physics or something else, but they can't handle rejection, and they sit and live quiet lives of desperation because They don't know how to function in society. Well, that's not our kids. They've gone through door after door. They see how the modes of nature work inside. They've been rejected hundreds, if not thousands of times, and they know how to process it. That's real education. Book distribution brings kids to the highest level of intelligence because they're doing something for Krishna and they're getting this education on the street, meeting people and finding out how the material energy works. Most people don't know that. Not only that, they become expert at communication. They also know how to run a business. They started their own branch, counting the Lakshmi, making goals, setting 10 or 20% of the marathon. And now these kids are in college and they're hard charging, they're learned, they know shlokas, and they know how to deal with all kinds of people because they've talked to people that speak all different kinds of languages. They've even been to the Haight-Ashbury and talked to hippies on the street. And when I see Aryans talking to hippies on the street, I feel great joy in my heart. It's one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen is high birth people talking to the hippies of the Haight-Ashbury. That's what Prabhupada did. So kids, it's a best kind of gurukul that you can have, is to bring kids in a safe environment, protected by parents, and show them the world. Just like little Narada Muni, when he was 5 years old and his mother died, went out and saw the energy of the world for himself. And that was the precursor to him becoming the great Narada Muni. Actually, the precursor was his sadhu sangha, but he utilized it in seeing everything as part of the spiritual energy of the Lord, and that's what Sankirtan does for kids. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Now comes the next part. Prabhu.
Can we have the mic?
Hare Krishna. Just before I hand it over to Anantake Prabhu, who's going to take us through what's going to happen over the next 2 hours, I just wanted to mention that recently we were in France, in New Mayapur, where we were having a nice retreat for 6 days. And our retreat in the morning was based on Panchanga Bhakti, and the second part was based on 4 very practical questions. So we just have some cards here on the table about a book which is soon to come out. It's in the editing stage right now, called The 4 Questions. Very practical questions, but more importantly, it allowed us an opportunity to really go deep into our sadhana and think about some of these questions that, how can I be of service? How may I be of service? What is the lesson? Some really nice questions which our Acharya has been telling us again and again to ask, actually, which drive us towards humility and tolerance. So please collect a card. There is a QR code which you can scan, and once the book is out, it'll be a BBD book and it'll be available. So the devotees who attended the New Mayapur found those questions to be very, very helpful. So I just wanted to mention that. And now I'm going to hand it over to Anantake Prabhu. And I want to show my appreciation to the Prabhu for inviting us and opening us the door of this beautiful temple so that we could come after a long time from Manor, at least for the devotees from the Manor, and opening this beautiful temple for us so we can have a joint monthly Sankirtan festival, because this is what Prabhupada likes, coming together and doing the Sankirtan festivals together. So thank you so much, Anantake.
So now the program is that we're going to touch the pavement. Just before that, I just want to know, raise your hands if you've never been out in book distribution. Wow. The idea is that we're gonna go to Covent Garden, which is a 10-minute walk from here. A little bit of Harinam, and set up a book table there in Covent Garden. And some of us can stay in Harinam, some of us can stay on the table, and there's different points around Covent Garden that we can just stay and just read books. So like this. So if you can all make a move now downstairs. The books are already downstairs by sets. So there's 2 types of sets. There's 50 small sets of 5 books, and there's a Bhagavad Gita set. So there's 2 of the small books. So it's 80 sets in total, and you've got a few other on the side. But the book table will be there, so if anyone can make their way downstairs. And we'll come back here at 2 p.m. for a nice feast. Nice feast. Hare Krishna.
Just a couple points. I'll be distributing books mostly, and if, of course, I don't guarantee anything because I'm just messenger, and if Christian wants me to distribute a book, that's fine, but I'm not going out and distribute books, I'm just doing the right thing to go out. But if you want to watch, feel free to approach me. I don't care how close you stand or how many people are there. We can all work together. If you want to watch, that's fine, so don't be reticent and stay back if you want to watch and learn. The other thing is that when I'm distributing, at least my process is don't help, because I have a certain rhythm. I don't need anything else handed. Sometimes kids come up and start handing them prasadam or whatever. That comes after. There's a sequence. So don't help out. Don't add anything unless I ask you to. And the other thing is, when we come back, can we have a few minutes to reflect? What happened, or is that later after
It will
prasadam?
be 3 to 4 is the reflection time.
3 to 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
after the lunch. So 2 o'clock is lunch.
Makes sense. That sounds really good.
Yeah, 2 p.m. is lunch, and then 3 p.m. we come back here in the temple room and have some reflections.
Okay, fair enough.
And when we go down, we can.
I know all of you have been out for book distribution, which is great, but perhaps one question I could ask is, who's only been on book distribution once or twice and feels very nervous still to go out on book distribution? Okay, so let's just, okay, let me just get, sorry, put your hands up again. Who feels a little bit nervous? Okay, so you are the first ones to go out with His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu. Bit late, Fatima Mataji.
Is there any children's group?
Yes, we will have children's group as well. So once we go down, Prabhu is going to hand over the books and we're going to make a group. And we will divide the children in each group. And everybody will get a chance to rotate and have some time with His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu.